we can produce 10,000 ID cards. That is, and besides this 280,
we are producing.
We are presently 280, 10,000 ID cards a day. There are 280 identification posts and 50 mobile identification posts that zoom around the country. It is just to tell you that it is not because Cameroon cannot or could not produce. The simple reason was, since they discovered that Cameroonians have been so trickish, to come out with so many identification information, the data is not agreeing. That is why they are not able to produce them. Another reason, the Secretary General indicated, and even papers indicated, that we have more than 240,000 ID cards pending collection in various identification posts across the country. Which means, like they say, Cameroonians are not going for their ID cards to go and collect. They think that the ID cards are not there, whereas they are there for those who are upright, those who have no problem, no complaint. Their ID cards are being issued. It is those who have.
So, are you trying to say that automatically all those that their ID cards have been pending have complaints or have problems?
And that is why they indicated around 3 to 4, channels through which you can verify to find out what is wrong with my ID card.
Okay.
Call to find out why is it that I don't have my ID card, and there is a reason that will be given. Cameroonians just took for granted that my ID card is not coming out. Those who don't have their ID card, following the information from the Secretary General at the National Security, find out why your ID card is not out, and you will be given a reason. He will tell you why it is not out. Those who have no problem, their ID cards were being issued on time. So if you have to calculate, you ask the question, if they can produce 10,000 ID cards a day in 1 month, how many would they produce? Now, the other information they gave was another production center is going to go operational in Garoua in the days ahead. Once that goes into operation, Cameroon will be producing 15,000 ID cards a day. So there are greater hopes and possibility that to say that we cannot say there is that the delayance was no, it was not because of any issue. It was because the data that we Cameroonians give out. Vanessa was asking the question, why on earth should individuals have different identifications? And like we were discussing somewhere, somebody indicated that, when you feel that you enter the public service or they launch a concours and you want to write your concours, you cut down your age and you become younger so that you can go in for the competition, or you become younger when you are even in the field so that your retirement age could be extended so that you can work for long. This put together, once your identification, and you forget that the data is being stored or stored in the central server. Once you file in your application to issue an ID card, it confronts the old information that was already in the server. And once there are two information, we don't know, or those who are producing it, the police, they don't know which is which is valid as concerns your identity or as concerns your person. So what they should do is they keep your own files aside.
Thank you very much, Mangevena. So, Derek, I would like to know from you, had it been this social media campaign wasn't going on, with the national delegate for national security, would he have reacted or given these reasons Mangevena is highlighting to edify the public that, no, your ID card is pending because of this reason or because of that or because of that? So, can we say that the government is being reactive rather than being proactive?
It has always been a reactive situation. I have my reasons for it. I go back to the statements of Venantius on the problems presented by the Delegate General for National Security for why ID cards are not coming out in time. If it were a proactive situation, once you discover that someone has sent in biometric information that conflicts with the previous one in the system, the solution is not to push the biometric information aside. You either get to summon the person to solve the problem once for all, or you don't manipulate the biometric information that was already there before. And I have a problem with the fact that once you lose your document in Cameroon, your identification papers, and you go in for new ones, they have to give you a different identification number. It is to me an excuse, a reason why Cameroonians should begin or continue to double information. If you're supposed to have one identification, I don't even understand how one citizen of a particular country within a given span of time can be able to obtain 2 or more identification numbers. You're a citizen once and for all. It's not normal that in a country you are issued your citizenship identification number, you lose the document, and they have to give you another number for a citizen of the same country. It's a faulty system put in place that, to me, it just makes us so ridiculous.
Okay.
So I think if they could be proactive, like you see, once you discover there's a conflict in your information, you summon the person, or you delegate someone to make findings so that there is accurate information in the system. That way, once I lose my document, I'm not even supposed to be supplying new biometric information. They're just supposed to type it in the system, and my document comes out as it is, and I can be printed a brand new document with the original information. That's the reason why the government has decided to abandon the polycarbonate system, because with the polycarbonate system you cannot manipulate it, and every detailed information about you from your day of birth, if you've ever committed any crime, everything is in the chip that the polycarbonate system carries. But I think if they could modernize it by going to that system, we'll be able to wave aside all of these troubles that we have with.
Thank you very much, Derek. In the second question, are there possible effects of not having this document? Derek, you think that there are possible effects. So, to the layman or to the lay citizens, what are some of the challenges that they could go through not having their ID cards?
The first challenge that all of us have on a daily basis is the fact that your freedom to move around becomes so limited, because you're always scared that you may be picked out of the bus or the car somewhere and have to keep waiting. But that particular problem, to me, it's not supposed to be so much of an issue, because there are other identification documents. You could move around with your passport, and if I have a passport which indicates my Cameroonian nationality, it's supposed to permit me to move around freely. If I have my birth certificate, which could enable me to move around, all I need to know is to give a reason. Definitely my ID card is
pending.
Yes, or it is missing, and I'm in the process of doing another. But this reason, it continues to happen because when the security officers in place, they rather get excited when they discover that you don't have the identification papers.
Even when you have the receipt, an expired receipt,
definitely
there's still a problem.
There's still a problem. And the problem is on your side, because on their side, the pockets are going to smile. So that is one of the huge problems that you have with not holding the identification paper. The second, and the more dangerous, is the one that there are some public exams. If you are no longer within the normal student age, you can no longer take part in if you don't hold the national identity card. It's like what we call external centers at the GCE board. You cannot participate or you cannot write through those centers if you don't have the national identity card. Even with the normal secondary school system, you cannot go to write under a school as a non-student of that school if you are not in possession of a national identity card. And you would agree with me, there are some advantages that those who have the document, they enjoy, that those who do not cannot enjoy.
Probably even carrying out international transactions.
Definitely.
You need your ID card.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. You stay with us while we get the point of view of Mange Venashus. Venashus, what are some of those challenges or effects not having your national identification card?
I begin from a more lighter note. Derek was saying that once you don't have it, instead the forces of law and order are instead happy. It provokes corruption, because once you don't have it, it is sure you must get to your destination, and for you to get to your destination, you buy your way through. Like a Cameroonian, I think we understand what we mean by buying your way through along the road. You must sail through, and to sail through, there are some notes that will have to exchange hands. And that has been going on. So once they just simply say, you don't have your ID card, come out, and you go to a corner, you people talk like, brother and sister or brothers, and then you come back to the car and we move on. Or you delegate the driver on your behalf, plead your case to those concerned, and you people go on. Besides that, Vanessa, when you live at this period in time, when you happen to lost to lost your wallet, you don't think of the content in terms of finances. You think of the card because you know the sufferings. Mr. Ngalim was talking about exams. There are public exams, entrance examinations that you cannot write if you don't have your ID card. You cannot even register. You cannot carry out your transaction, bank transaction, financial transaction. You cannot carry out. Besides that, simple communication now on telephone. Once the expiry date comes on, the company calls you to tell you that within 2 weeks your lines will be suspended, which means they are reminding you to renew it. If not, you would not even be able to communicate. With that, it cuts you from the outside world. I was saying something about communication. You said you cannot carry out international transaction. You cannot go out of the country. There are people whose businesses would have likely crumbled because they could not have access to their to their ID card. Vanessa, remember, it is just of recent that these communication companies and money exchange agencies are accepting the receipts. Before then, they did not accept the receipt as an ID card. To them, it was just a paper. They needed the original identification, and for you to perhaps send money, for you to go and collect. I mean, before then, before the mobile money came on, for you to send money so that people could go and collect, especially in the village, was a problem. The money can get stuck there because the person is not having an ID card. So I think that just being in possession of that ID card, it opens so many doors, like Mr. Ngalim was saying. But once you don't have it, you feel like you are not a Cameroonian. We're talking about the crisis in the northwest and southwest region. It is another problem now. Once you don't have your national identity card, you are considered of the opposite camp. And once you are of the opposite camp, you know the likely consequences. Your charges of terrorism are levied on you. You are, of course, sent directly to Yaoundé. You have to explain yourself in front of a military tribunal because you don't have the ID card. So it is a document that opens you.
Or you might likely be brought down on the spot.
Vanessa, when you are brought down, I mean from the other side, once you are brought, you are brought down, you are just ferried into a car that you don't even see outside again, and they take you. You realize yourself when you are already in a cell, locked down, and you just have to explain, and even to convince somebody that you are not of the opposite camp. It becomes a different. It will become a problem for you to convince them that maybe you are not moving around with den guns and all the others. So just the fact that you don't have the ID card, you are being liable to be tagged. A terrorist. Yes, because you don't have this document. And once you have it, with the other camp too, it becomes a problem. Once you have it with the other camp, it means you are of the opposite camp. I mean, this way.
But anyway, we are not into that. We are talking about the effect as a whole.
Those are the effects. Those are the effects of not having it.
There you are being too specific, but the general effect of it.
The general effect is it helps you in communication. It helps you in carrying out transactions. It helps you in movement, general movement. It helps you in identification. Vanessa, there was a situation where somebody left Boya, was coming over to Douala to buy from the market, and by passing through Motengeni, somebody, a pickpocket, removed his wallet. And at Motengeni, they had an accident. The person who removed the purse died in the accident. And they saw the identification of the man who was already in Douala. And they considered that the man died. So news circulated in the village that the man had died already. Before they know, in the evening, the guy was coming back from Douala with goods that he went to buy. And nobody could believe him. So it helps in identifying you. This is you. Because, once you don't have it, it is difficult that they should identify you. Yes, I think this document, we cannot underestimate the use of it.
So what should be the take-home message to the national security responsible for issuing these ID cards?
That it is, from the information given, following that press conference, they should assure Cameroonians that the cause is Cameroonians. One, your documents, your information are faulty. Two, you don't go to collect your information, collect your ID cards. Because if Cameroonians should go up now to check and we still have it continuing that the cards were not more available, that the cards were not available in the identification.
Many had given up anyway.
Of course. Many had given up. Many had issued the second time.
The third time, the fourth time, because I know...
And nothing is having.
Yes,
but Vanessa, we must indicate here, because I was discussing with a colleague here, and he said the problem came from those who are in this identification post. They had an error spelling the name of the father, and the name of the father that was in the form did not tie with the name that was on the birth certificate. It is a problem. Because the name of the father, the person, they call it, I don't want to call it a woman, I want to call it the secretary, who was working there, made an error in writing the name, copying the name.
I will tell you that when I was establishing my own ID, the secretary argued with me and he wrote what he wanted to. And openly I will say it, yes. He changed my name, saying that my daughter is also called Vanessa, it is not with E, it is with I, and he changed it.
Correct.
And I won't lie you, today I faced some of the challenges you're talking about.
Those are
carrying out some transactions.
Those are the issues. Those are the issues that the police or those in charge of issuing these ID cards, they need to take into consideration. Respect the data. You cannot spell my name more than I do.
Exactly. And as small as I was,
yes,
there was no way for me to call my father and say that this man has written my name wrongly.
And you suffered, and you may suffer it too.
And I'm still suffering.
That is it.
Daring Kalim, and to Cameroonian citizens, those who have given up, what could you tell them?
I think what I would tell them is to exercise some diligence when they supply their biometric information to the various agencies, and I'll also advise diligence on the part of the various agencies. They should do their work well and avoid certain mistakes. And then to the Delegate General for National Security, I'd like to give this take-home message. We're already in the world where everyone is in possession of a mobile phone and with phone numbers. They should not only send messages around about the security of the nation, and they could communicate adequately to individuals whenever their IDs have been issued. They send personal messages. You can go to the center where you made to the police station where you made your ID. It is available already. Has
it been a mass broadcast of the information, because the information and communication technologies have improved? Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you too.
Manga Venatius, hope to have you tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be there, Vanessa.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure having you, and knowing fully well that we are back tomorrow is another day. We could call it a day. Thank you very much for watching. Do stay tuned to DBS Television.
Good evening and welcome to the news on DBS TV. We begin the news in Cameroon. Barely